Breathe in, breathe out. You said you needed time to figure out your mind. I gave you space to heal while I was losing mine. You learned how to let go, I learned how to stay. I waited in silence while you walked away. I thought love meant patience, but I was the only one hurting. You healed while I was bleeding. You smiled while I broke. You found your peace in leaving. I was choking on hope. You healed while I was bleeding. I stayed open and true. You closed the door behind you and locked me in with you. I carried all the weight so you wouldn't fall apart. I held back all my pain to protect your heart. You call it self-love now, I call it goodbye. You saved yourself while I slowly died. I wasn't asking for saving, just honesty. You healed while I was bleeding. You didn't even look back. You said it wasn't personal, but it felt like an attack. You healed while I was bleeding. I guess that's how it goes. One person finds the exit, the other learns to cope. Maybe love shouldn't feel like war. Maybe I deserved more than being strong alone while you found your cure. You healed while I was bleeding, but I'll heal too someday. I won't beg for someone who chose to walk away. You healed while I was bleeding, but I survived the truth. I loved you with my whole heart, and it says more about me than you. I'm still here. I was losing sleep, trying to understand how you could say goodbye and still hold my hand. I was replaying every word, every moment we had. You were already smiling, like nothing was that bad. I was still surviving the loss. You were escaping the pain. You moved on while I was breaking, while I was learning how to breathe. I was drowning in the silence. You were already free. You moved on while I was breaking, like our love was easy to erase. I was bleeding from the ending. You were changing your pace. I counted every memory, trying to make them stay. You counted new beginnings, like I was yesterday. I blame myself for everything, you blame the timing instead. I was falling into pieces, you were already ahead. Healing shouldn't feel like a race, someone always wins. You moved on while I was breaking, that truth cut deep and slow. I was fighting just to function, you were letting go. You moved on while I was breaking, and I'll never forget how fast you found another life while I was still a mess. Maybe you healed before you left, maybe you left to avoid healing. Either way, I was alone with everything I was feeling. You moved on while I was breaking, but I'm standing here somehow. I picked up every piece you dropped, I'm still healing now. You moved on while I was breaking, and that hurt will fade in time. I won't compare my healing to how quickly you moved on. I asked you to text me back like it was too much to ask. I waited for your effort while you gave me half. I lowered all my standards just to keep you close. I called to be patient, but I was losing hope. Love shouldn't feel like pleading to be seen. I begged for the bare minimum, your time, your truth, your care. I was asking for consistency, you weren't really there. I begged for the bare minimum and called it compromise. I was starving for affection while you were satisfied. I watched you choose your comfort over choosing me. You said I was too sensitive for wanting honesty. I stayed quiet through the hurt so you wouldn't walk away, but you still left anyway and took my self-respect. I confused effort with love and paid the price. I begged for the bare minimum, like love was something earned. I gave you all my patience, you never even learned. I begged for the bare minimum, and that's the part that hurts. I loved you unconditionally, you loved me when it worked. I won't beg to be chosen, I won't shrink to be enough. I deserve someone who gives without being asked. I begged for the bare minimum, but I won't anymore. I'm done convincing someone to love me like before. I begged for the bare minimum, now I'm choosing almost as bad. You say it ended naturally, like we both let it go. But I replay the memories like they still owe me hope. You packed up all your feelings, put them neatly away. I carry mine in silence every night, every day. If you loved me the same, you wouldn't sound so okay. You didn't feel it like I did. You didn't break inside. You didn't cry in empty rooms or beg your heart to survive. You didn't feel it like I did. I felt it in my bones. You walked away with closure. I was left alone. You say I'll find someone like that erases you, but I don't want a someone. I wanted us to be true. You say I'm strong enough, like I had a choice. I learned how to be quiet so I wouldn't hear my voice. If it hurt you the same, you wouldn't forget my name. You didn't feel it like I did. You didn't lose your sleep. I still check my phone at night, like you might still need me. You didn't feel it like I did, and that's the hardest truth. I loved you without limits. You love me with an exit too. Maybe one day you'll feel it when you miss what you lost. But I already paid every emotional cost. You didn't feel it like I did, but I won't feel this forever. I'll heal you a good hope and learn to choose me better. You didn't feel it like I did, but I felt something real, and I'd rather be broken than never feel. I felt everything. You didn't hesitate. You didn't look back. You filled my place like I was just a gap. I thought I mattered more than being someone new, but I watched you move on like nothing we had was true. If I was special, you would have felt it. I was never hard to replace. You found another me while I was learning how to breathe. You were already free. I was never hard to replace, and that's the part that breaks. I loved you like you were rare. You loved me like I was safe. I gave you all my patience, you gave me uncertainty. I waited for you here, you waited to be done with me. I stayed loyal to memories you created, new ones fast. I was stuck inside the end and you were done with the past. I wasn't unforgettable, I was convenient. He'll choose me every day. I was never hard to replace, but I won't shrink again. I deserve to be irreplaceable. Someone who understands. You promised for him.
You were here when it was easy, when the laughter filled the room. You loved the light inside me, but left when it got too real. You held my hand in public, but dropped it when I cried. You said you'd never leave me, to staying took more time. You wanted love without effort, a story without scars.
You loved me until it got hard, until love asked you to stay. I was holding on to forever. You were looking for escape. You loved me until it got hard, until patience took word. I was willing to grow together. You were scared of the hurt.
I carried all the weight, so you wouldn't feel the strain. You called it losing feelings, I call it fear of pain.
You said you needed freedom, I needed honesty. You walked away from effort and called it destiny. Love shouldn't disappear when it's tested. You loved me until it got hard, then you slowly let me go. I was fighting for a future, you were already alone. You loved me until it got hard, and I finally understand. If love can't survive the hard parts, it was never strong to begin. If staying scared you more than leaving me, then I deserve someone braver than you could be. You loved me until it got hard, but I loved you all the way. I won't beg someone to choose me, who walks when things aren't safe. You loved me until it got hard, now I'm choosing what is real. Love shouldn't leave when it's tested. Love should help you heal. You gave up. I didn't know better. I stayed through all the warning signs, called it being strong. I made excuses for your silence and blamed myself all along. I learned how to numb the pain just to keep you near. I told myself this is love while drowning in my fear. Nobody taught me love shouldn't feel like this. I thought love was supposed to hurt. I thought pain meant it was real. I confused anxiety with how you feel. I thought love was supposed to hurt, so I stayed when I should've run. I kept calling it commitment while losing who I was. I begged for reassurance. You said I asked too much. I questioned my own feelings while craving your touch. I kept lowering my standards, calling it being kind. I broke myself in peace just to keep you in my life. Love shouldn't make you disappear to be enough. I thought love was supposed to hurt. That's the lie I believed. I thought tears were part of loving, and that's what shattered me. I thought love was supposed to hurt, but I finally see the truth. Love doesn't leave you bleeding. It's supposed to feel safe too. If I could talk to who I was, I'd tell them to walk away. You don't love through suffering. You don't have to stay. I thought love was supposed to hurt, but now I know it's not. Love shouldn't feel like surviving. Love should feel like home. I thought love was supposed to hurt, but I'm healing from the lie. Next time I love someone, I won't lose myself inside. Love shouldn't hurt. I see it now. I was planning our future. You were planning your escape. I was counting every moment. You were counting down the days. I memorized your silence, every shift in your tone. I learned how to love someone who was never really home. I thought love meant patience, but it felt like being alone. I loved alone in that relationship. I carried us on my own. I gave you everything I had. You gave me barely enough. I loved alone in that relationship. While you stood at the door, I was fighting for forever. You were already sure. I asked for reassurance. You called it being too much. I needed honesty. You needed distance instead. I kept lowering my standards just to keep you close. I was holding on to someone who was already letting go. Love shouldn't feel like begging to be wanted, to be chosen. I loved alone in that relationship, and it's breaking me to say I stay when I should've left. You left when I begged you to stay. I loved alone in that relationship, but I won't anymore. I finally learned my value. I won't love alone again. If loving you meant losing me, then it wasn't love fall. I loved alone in that relationship, but now I choose myself. I won't pour into someone who won't give me help. I loved alone in that relationship, and I let the chapter end. Next time I love someone, they'll love me back again. Never again. I finally get it. You showed up when you needed, disappeared when you were fine. I was always on your schedule, never once on mine. You said you cared in moments when it was easy to stay, but love doesn't come and go like you did every day. I confuse availability with devotion. I was convenient, not loved. I was there but never chosen. I was fixing all your lonely nights while my heart stayed broken. I was convenient, not love. I fill space, not your soul. You didn't want commitment, you just didn't wanna be alone. I waited for your effort, you waited till you were bored. I gave you unconditional, you gave me minimum support. I blame myself for asking for things I should have had. I was lowering my standards just to keep what we never had. Love shouldn't feel optional to the one you're with. I was convenient, not love, and that truth still burns inside. I was good enough to keep around, but never good enough to try. I was convenient, not love, but I won't be that again. I won't pour into someone who only shows up now and then. If I was easy to lose, it's because I made it easy to stay. I gave too much to someone who was already halfway away. I was convenient, not loved. Now I'm choosing something real. I deserve consistency, I deserve how love should feel. I was convenient, not loved, and now I'm done pretending it's okay. I won't settle for roles. I choose myself today. I deserved all.